Right. So I'll get this back up. That's it. Whew. Thank you, ladies.
I'll put myself on mute, Debs, just to let you get cracking now. And then when you need me, I'll come back on.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Alex. Well, welcome, ladies. So my name's Debbie Aitken, and I've spent the last 25 years working in the community, working in grants, in benefit advice, working on a wide range of projects. My background includes funding advice. So developing community initiatives that makes a real difference. So over the years, I've built up a strong understanding of grants, funding, what's out there, where to look for grants, where to find them, looking at criteria and guidelines, because that's an important thing, which I can talk about that in a bit. I started my grant consultancy 3 years ago because it became apparent just after lockdown, or is it less? Yeah. A lot of business owners were coming to me and say, Debbie, what grants can I apply for? Because we're really struggling. So that's where it actually involved. And what I do is I take away the stress around finding and applying for grants. I research it, I identify one that fits your business and help to write and review applications. So you've got the possible best chance of success, because I know that you're all busy working in your businesses, and sometimes you just haven't got the time, you haven't got the effort, or I'm not saying you've not got the effort, but that time spent on your business and building your business is important to you, but you still want to build your business. You could be a startup, you could be a business that's been going a few years that you want to grow. So yeah, that's who I am actually. So yeah, I support private clients, not just businesses, but community interest companies, charities, community groups, because there's funding out there for everybody really, and individuals. That's one thing that I started doing 25 years ago, and I could talk about that all night in the specific job that I did, but I won't tonight. So what we'll be covering today, the type of grants and funding available for small and beauty businesses, how to check if your business is eligible, practical steps to get your application ready, and real examples of business owners securing startup grants, how funding can help your beauty business in training, equipment, where to find ongoing support, resources and guidance, or just a few tips. Please mute yourself for this presentation, which you already have. And if you've got any questions, put in the chat. So who can benefit and why? So startup beauty businesses, you need a boost to get going. It can be quite scary, as I'm sure quite a few of you have found that. You don't know where to go for it. Or you could be an established salon, or you could be a freelancer and looking to grow. Those wanting to invest in training, equipment, or premises, you could be sat looking at your business every week, every month, and you know that there's a certain area that you want to invest, but you just haven't got that cash flow at that moment in time. So you need a little bit of help. So anyone wanting expert guidance and funding opportunities, then I can help you. So types of grants up. So as I say, the startup grants, they will help you launch your beauty business. I actually had a startup grant for my consultancy. So I went to my local council, I think it was Business Doncaster, and I got £1,000 grant. I just had to fill in the application and say, look, I want to start this consultancy. This is what I need. I needed insurances. I needed. I paid towards a subscription for a search engine for grants, which is Grants Online, and that was a few £100 a year. And I just didn't have that money to start up, but I knew I needed that for my clients. So there could be something that you guys need as well. Growth funding, that's for expansion, training or new equipment. Community grants. So you may have been running your business for a good few years, and then you think, I actually want to help people in the community. There could be a community group or a local school or a local charity that want your expertise with regards beauty training or whatever. So what some businesses can do, and I've also got one of those as well alongside my consultancy, is a community interest company. Now, people on the call tonight might not know much about that. This is where you set it up, which I can give you information about how to set that up and how to go about getting funding for community groups. So for instance, a lot of my clients are community interest companies as well, and I've helped them apply to the National Lottery. I do mention it further along, so I'll speak to you about that later. So there's also innovation funding for new products, treatments or services. There's also business support programs for mentoring workshops, and there is loans and alternative finance. So for instance, locally in Yorkshire, there's an organisation called Finance for Enterprise, and what they do is they support businesses. They lend them, say, a couple of thousand, it could be 3, 5, 10, whatever, and a loan officer will work with you, and it's a lower cost loan than it will be to a bank, or if you struggle to get a loan from, they used to call them high street banks, but they're not really now. So that is another alternative. Reason I know about that is my daughter actually works for the local one in Doncaster, so I get to know quite a bit about that. So another grant which some of you may know about and some of you don't, and this is called Access to Work. And this is a government grant to support people with health conditions or disabilities in work. So this can cover specialist equipment, coaching or mentoring, support workers, travel costs if the public transport isn't an option, and it's available for self-employed, freelancers and business owners, and you don't have to pay this back. So one of the things that I've been doing is supporting people how to fill in applications for access to work, because for the last 25 years that's all I've done is filled in forms. So if you're a bit worried or a bit scared of forms, and especially when it's on an online website to the government, you're not sure whether you're doing that right thing or not. Should I put this? Should I put that? So you know, it's just one of these things. If you need the support, then why not come to somebody that knows about it? Now, you don't have to have a diagnosis for your health condition, although if you have got a diagnosis, then that's great. And there's different ways of getting the funding. If you have got a health condition like ADHD, then they can fast track you through the process. And you know, if you want to know any more information, then yes, get in touch with me after this short training and I can talk you through it. Okay. So startup businesses grants. Again, I've said you could have it for training qualifications, you could have initial setup costs, you could have one-off payments. Now, the startup business grants, sometimes you have to do a bit of searching. So it could be with your local council, enterprise hub, or a national scheme. And what I generally do with a client, because I have got clients up and down the country, so I will always say to them, if you're looking for a startup grant, go to your local council. It's usually on the website, but if you struggle to find it, then usually I've got hints and tips how to do that. And not only will they talk to you about grants, sometimes they've got some mentoring support. They have other workshops you can attend that are free. So this is great for, you know, when you're starting up, because it can be quite daunting if you've never done anything like this before. So there's other grants which are ongoing grants. So for instance, I was talking about community interest companies. So what they are is they want to deliver projects out into the community. And so you put an application together, you've got this project, you've got this idea that you want to support some individuals in the community. It could be girls, it could be boys, it could be a specific group, it could be some that have left school early and not sure what they want to do but not gone to college, so it can be to do with that. So you can put down for staffing and sessional workers. So that would be yourself who's running the sessions or the training. You can put down premises and running costs. So if you're running a community event, then you would hire a venue somewhere locally. It can also be put down for training and professional development. Community projects and partnerships are a great way to get your name out there in the community. So a few clients I've helped have gone to National Lottery, so that would be awards for all, and you get up to 20,000 for 2 years. Now again, it's an online application, and if not sure how to do that, then I can help you with that. I help you to structure your application, look at budget costs. So a little example of community interest company, once you've registered your community interest company, then you need to get a business account in that community interest. So it's slightly different to a business. So, you know, you may not be in a position to do that yet, and you've not thought about that, but it may be something in the future. So one of the other parts of my work, and I also work for a local charity, is benefit support. So I work with people with disabilities and long-term conditions. Now, some of the benefits that you can get running alongside, if you've got any of the grants for your business, you can also get universal credit. But there was a question I noticed in the group in the chat, and somebody actually asked, can you, if you get a grant, does it affect universal credit? Now, if you get a grant for yourself from somewhere else, then it's likely that universal credit will take that into account as income. Now, if it's for your business, then obviously it will be for training. It could be for equipment. It could be for chairs. It could be to rent a room in a salon. And universal credit would look at that as though that was part of business costs. So you've just got to watch for universal credit. All I would say is always ask your work coach about different scenarios coming up, because if you don't and then you do it, and then obviously it could be implications with your benefit. So PIP, personal independent PIP, you can apply for that. It doesn't affect universal credit. It doesn't affect if you're working as a business, self-employed, as a freelance, because it's classed is a health benefit. So this health benefit is for you. And I do these forms day in, day out. I go and visit out in the community. So I've got a lot of experience in that. So yes, you do have to have a health condition or disability to apply for it, but it's how it affects your daily living and the mobility. So there's different scenarios, different activities in daily living. So it might be that on your bad days, you can't get up, you can't get dressed, you don't feel like getting in the bath, you struggle preparing food, and it could be physical or mental health. So I've had quite a few clients who have ADHD, and they've explained to me how day-to-day things affect them. So what I do is I look at putting specific paragraphs in to explain how they are on a bad day. So yeah, mobility is if you can't walk so far or if you can't plan a journey. Now it's assessed, you get, so there's two components. So there's the daily living component and there's a mobility component. And then they have points for each activity. And then they will, so depending how many points you get, you may get a standard rate of daily living and daily mobility, or you may get a enhanced daily living or mobility, or you could get enhanced daily living standard of mobility. So it just depends. And some people do claim it while they're working. Even people who are employed get it. I had a gentleman the other week and he had Crohn's disease, but he still was able to work. His company allowed him to work from home, and I managed to get him PIP for him, because there were times when he went out on the road, his Crohn's affected him, and the money that he got from PIP has helped him because he's been able to reduce some of his hours at work. So the PIP sort of like supplemented his income. So there's a lot to do with that. And obviously I've got lots of experience of talking to people where they've worked most of their life, but then their circumstances change. So things that are important to know: grants can be competitive. Not every application is successful, but I wouldn't want to put you off with that. For strong applications, you need clear evidence of need. And that's something that I can help you. If you're not right into writing things about your business or what you need and things, I can help you with that. I've got to know over years the key areas that funders are looking for. And it's important to know that you keep financial records and a separate business bank account. That can be for community interest companies, like I mentioned before. And like I said before, benefits can run alongside grants and access to work. Some funding is time limited or location based. So for instance, National Lottery, they give you the money for 2 years, and you would have to run your project within that 2 years. Some locally based. So it's also a good tip I would give you. So I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know whether any of you guys are on LinkedIn, but over the last couple of years, the funders who fund businesses and fund community interest companies, they have pages now on LinkedIn, and they will post when their grants are open. Because at the end of the day, they want people coming forward for these grants. But not only that, there's a big thing now. I think there's sort of the divide. There were always the divide, weren't there? There were businesses and then there were community organisations. But now it's happening where it's building together. So they call it social value. So if a business shows social value, then that's really good, because it's showing that you're supporting the community. And if you wanted any more information about that side of it, I can talk to you about that as well. So all I'd say is, with applications, when you find a grant that you feel that you want to apply for, looking at the criteria is important, because this is where they'll say, yes, individuals can apply, businesses can apply, community interest companies, charities, but some grants are just for community interest, charities, community groups, and some are just for businesses and individuals. So you've just got to watch criteria, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be spending hours filling in an application and then you get turned down at the first post, because sometimes that happens. I've had a lot of experience of my clients submitting the applications, and some of the work that I do as well. If you're quite good at filling forms in, but you want some pointers and hints and tips, I can also coach people how to do that. One of my ladies, about 4 years ago, she runs a hypnotherapy business, and she says, Debbie, I really want to offer the community what I do, but I know people can't always afford to pay private, but they still need the support, especially after COVID. A lot of people are needing help with their mental health and their well-being. So I coached her on how to do it. She now has around 10 community interest companies. She's delivered retreats out in the community. She's had them at Tickhill. She now does them at Derbyshire. She collaborates with other business owners who are into wellbeing, and she's gone from strength to strength. And I've loved to see where she started off and where she is now, and who knows where she's going to go next. So it just proves over a couple of years you can get to that point. So I've touched on some of the services that I offer. So I can look for grants for the Pacific. So there might be, certain areas that you want to look at, but you're not sure where to look for the grants because there is lots of grants. I can identify them and then talk you through about applying for funding. I also do application reviews. I've had an organisation recently and they said, Debbie, I want to have a go at this application. So I give them all the tips and that. And so they filled it all in. And before they send it off, they said, Debbie, will you have a look? Can you look at the question answers, whether I've got the key points in? Because sometimes it's just having another person looking at the application. It's like anything, any writing that you do, it's, like proofreading. So I'm just in the middle. I reviewed it. I told them about budget costs. I said, you need to sort of angle it this way, that way, and they're ready to submit their application. As I say, like my example of the lady that's run the retreats and done all different projects. By the way, she's now been commissioned by the NHS to run some sessions for cancer nurses to give them support. So sometimes you can get commissioned as well. Obviously, that's under a community interest company. So I don't want to blind you with science, well, not science, but with the community interest company. If it's purely business grants, then obviously that's what I can talk to you about. So I want to build your skills and confidence in grant writing. Anybody can do it. A lot of times I get clients coming to me and we go through things and actually I've given the confidence that they can actually do it. Oh, we've got somebody coming in now, Nicola. Hello, Nicola. We're sort of halfway through, or probably 3/4 of this training, but it's going to be recorded. So we're putting, Alex is going to be putting a recording into the group. So you'll be able to catch up of what you missed. So yeah, so this is services I offer. And regards the access to work.
Nicola, do you mind popping yourself on mute, please? Just because you get a little bit of a bounce back.
So with access to work, I can support you all the way through. So if you want to know how to apply online, what the application looks like, and what you should be putting in each section, I can help you with that. I can talk you through it. That's one part of my service. Another one is if you're not really confident in filling forms online, and especially access to work, then I can do a Zoom call. We go through each question. I'll help you fill it out, and then obviously it gets submitted. I can also talk to you about support that you're wanting from access to work. I think it's on the next slide. If it isn't, I'll talk about it. So yeah, I can save you time of that. And it's going to increase your chances of success. And then there's another service within access to work. So during access to work, you fill your application in, you send it off. The next stage is a case manager will contact you. They will go through your application, and during that application, you will have put what support you need. So say, for instance, you need a mentor, you need some equipment, you need some like apps to help you with, say with ADHD, there's a few things that you need. So diary management, time management, and things like that. So I can help you all the way. So case manager gets in touch, and you might not feel right confident talking to a case manager. So what I can do is I can be the spokesperson with you, and I can speak to you. I can speak to them. I can be on the call with you when you're speaking to the case manager, just to give you that extra support. And then if you get any phone calls or emails, I can deal with that. So there's 3 parts of it, the support that I can give. Okay, so tailored support. Yes, I can tailor. I think this part is more about what I've done. Yes, I do consultancy, I do reviews. I've recently done workshops out in the community talking about grants, how to find them, where to look, filling out the application forms. A little tip I'll give you, if you use ChatGPT, girls, that's a good way to research grants. And that's what I did with some of my workshops in the summer. It saves a lot of time and it gives you all the information about the grants. I do question and answer sessions, advice to work guidance, benefits advice, ongoing check-ins, keeping you on track with funding opportunities. So I do all sorts. And if something crops up and you think, Debbie, I need the help for this, can you help me? I can look at that. I'm also really good at developing projects, especially out in the community as well, and how to go about it. And say if you did want to, work with the community, I'd always say, with you doing beauty and well-being and things like that, always go to your local council, public health. They sometimes have some pots of money there, because at the end of the day, you've got your expertise and you want to inform people how to do things, or just providing with the beauty and well-being. It's all over the last few years, it's all about what I'm seeing with the funding as well. It's all about self-care, and it's so important to everybody, whether you work or whether you don't, So if you need to contact me or check, you can click the top QR code, check if you're eligible for access to work. The second one is you can book a discovery call with me. That is entirely free. I can go through whether you want to look at grants for your business or you want to look at access to work for you to work in your business. Then I can talk you through that. Okay. So, is there any questions? We can open it up now.
Yeah. Debs?
Yeah.
It might be best if you turn off the recording now, and then we can just have it as like a general Q&A.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Let me get up. So where will I find the recording? There, found it. Stop recording. Are you sure you want to